Thank you, Mary Henthorne, our technical director. I am pleased to recognize the fact that we've assembled the first forum segment candidates and the moderator and the questioner. So we are in good position to begin at 9:30 with all engaged in that time period. Good omen for the forum.
Kathy, did the time change?
We start at 9:30.
Oh, I mean for the at-large position 9?
Position 9 is on the schedule at
10:14?
10:15 a.m.
Okay, I just, that's what I had told a couple of people, so I just want to make sure I gave them the correct information.
That is correct information.
Thank you.
We start at 9:30 with position 8. I'm sorry, position 10. Then we have position 8 at 9:55. And then we have position 9 at 10:14. And then at 11, we have the judicial races in fairly short order for the 4 runoff circuit judge positions. And we expect to conclude about 11:30. And if candidates do not require the full minute for their replies, we will move through this very quickly and end sooner than that. So we'll just have to see where we go. Let me remind everyone, we're glad you're here. We do ask that you change your name displayed on your screen to a proper name so that we can have a good recording for viewing by voters later. I am looking at J22BE. I'd sure like to see that converted to a name, first name, last name. You do a right click on your name and the three dots in the upper right give you the option to rename yourself. So that enables us all to make sure that we are calling on folks in proper order when they are taking part in the forum. If you're simply visitor audio, that's a lesser concern because we won't be calling on your name. I'm now looking at the last minute before we begin actual forum.
Hey, Kathy, real quick, is this live streaming on Facebook or are we just on the Zoom?
No, recording only.
Okay, thank you.
And now we're beginning the forum itself. Good morning and welcome to the Little Rock Candidate Forum hosted by the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods on Saturday, October the 3rd of 2020. I'm Kathy Wells, the president. This forum will be posted by tomorrow on the Facebook page of the Coalition at clrn.ar, and it will also be posted on YouTube at our account LR Neighborhoods. Do, as a reminder, please keep yourselves muted until you speak, and do make sure that your name displays a proper first name, last name. And at this point, I'm going to ask moderator Jim Lynch to take us into the beginning of the Position 10 City Director at Large Forum. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. I beg everyone's forbearance. I'm very, very new at Zoom, but welcome everyone to this City Hall Election Candidate Forum for positions on the City Board. Our first round of questions will go to the three people who are contesting for the at-large position number 10. The event is going to be recorded, as Kathy has already indicated, and will be posted online. Some of these details will be on the slides that are posted periodically throughout the forum. The candidates will be called on in ballot order. I am the moderator for this particular position 10 race. Our actual questioner is Ms. Denise Leeson, who is the representative from the Central High School Neighborhood Association. Each candidate will have 1 minute to reply to the 1 minute to open with an opening statement, 1 minute to close at the end, and then 1 minute in the middle to reply to each of the 4 questions that will be posed to each candidate. Of course, all the candidates will receive the same questions in the race. And for fairness and so forth, we will rotate who will get the first question so that not everyone has the advantage of going last. The candidate giving the first opening statement will not make the first closing statement. So having said all that and laid out the ground rules, I will turn it over to Denise Leeson from the Central High neighborhood.
Opening statement.
I'm sorry, opening statement from Denise.
Yes, good morning. My name is Denise Leeson. I'm the new president of the Central High Neighborhood Association, and I'm delighted to be here with you all. Thank you. So in this running for the race of position 10 at large for the city director, we have Greg Henderson, we have Joan Adcock, the incumbent, and we have Sheridan Richards. And I would like to ask them to make their 1 minute opening statement in that order, please. Greg, then Joan, and Sheridan.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Thank you to Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods. It's an organization where we've had plenty of interaction with over the past years, and it's a great organization, and I'm very excited to be here. I am Greg Henderson, and I'm running for City Director in position 10. This is an at-large citywide race. To me, Little Rock has all the potential in the world to be one of the great cities in the area of the country. We have to start making decisions based on what is best for us over the next 30 years, though, and not repeating the same mistakes that have held us back for the past 30. And that's exactly why I'm running for City Director. I've spent a career working to grow small businesses, both privately and within the government all across the state. And I want to look at long-term strategies in the areas of economic development, education, and city planning so that we can grow Little Rock to all of its potential. I also serve as Downtown Neighborhood Association President, which is part of Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods. And so I see the great work that this organization does, but also as president of Downtown Neighborhood Association, it helps me know how to work between citizens. It's time we start building for the future of Little Rock. That's why I'm here.
Joan,
Yes,
your opening statement, please.
yes. My name is Joan Adcock. I'm a Little Rock City Director, and I'm running for re-election. One of the questions I get asked the most, and I want to be out and open with it, who can vote for us? And any resident or any citizen in the city of Little Rock can vote for the at-large directors, and they can have 3 votes, 1 for each of us. So as an at-large director, I have had the opportunity to help people throughout the whole city. And, you know, I've kind of specialized in neighborhoods because that's where my heart is serving the people. I also now am serving on the Land Bank and More Services Advisory Board. I working together in the community. So I am involved in lots of citywide things. And that's what an at-large director is. It's someone who looks at issues that are citywide. So I would appreciate, I appreciate all that y'all are doing today, having this forum, and I look forward to telling people more about what is being done in this city. Thank you.
And time.
Sheridan, your opening statement, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sheridan Richards. I'm a human resources professional. I've been married for 11 years. I'm the mother of 2 children who attend public schools here in Little Rock. I'm an Air Force child who was raised all over Southern California, and that's why I speak a little differently. My husband and I have chosen to raise our children here, and I threw my hat in the race because I want to improve our city, not just for current residents, but also for our children who are the future. My platform is a fresh start, and FRESH stands for family, reading, equity, skill development, and housing. Equity is central to everything that I bring to this board seat. I'm grateful for Director Adcock's 28 years of service, but I believe it's time for a change. Her priorities do not address the current needs of Little Rock. If you're ready for a fresh start for our city, please vote Sheridan Richards for position 10.
Thank you. Okay, thank you all. Let's see, so we'll use this same order, but rotating. So the person who will respond to question 1 first will be Joan, and then Sheridan and Greg. So question 1, so far the city's had no success in stopping the nuisance car caravans that have disturbed the peace late at night, that have created traffic safety hazards. What would be your recommendation for remedying this issue? And again, Joan first, then Sheridan, and then Greg.
Yes, I have received lots of telephone calls, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning from neighborhood people all over the city. It started out Colonel Glenn, but it has spread throughout our city. I live close to University Avenue, and I can hear these people coming in I-30. You can hear them at every stop sign they go to and everything. We've got to have enforcement. We've got to start letting them know that we're serious about stopping this. Our neighborhood people do not want to be woke up all night. Also, we don't want to put new streets in. Asher Avenue looks horrible from all that's going on up there. I think we need to enforce. The night that they went to the Rave Theater and ticketed and hauled off 50 automobiles, towed them off, we made a statement that night, but now we've pulled back again. We are saying these are just young people having to do something. No, it's not. It's people bothering the neighborhoods, causing damage to our city. We're going to keep on till someone is killed with these automobiles.
Time.
It's time.
Thank you.
Sheridan?
Yes, thank you. I believe the Director Adcock's approach puts a Band-Aid on an issue instead of drilling down to the root cause of the problem. The reason these people are caravanning is because they're angry, they're upset, and they want to be heard. I do not support violence in our city, but I do support listening to our residents. We need to create more open forums so we can hear what the issues are and give people a chance to address them verbally so that they're not taking action. I also think we need to move back to having a citywide curfew so that people are required to be indoors after a certain time. That is my approach. I do not think law and order is the best place to start. I think the best place to start is with listening to our residents. That's a healthier approach and an approach to partnerships with our city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Greg?
Thank you. This is a issue that I've been intimately involved with in the downtown neighborhood. And in my opinion, it has to be a wide approach. We have to take care of the immediate need, and that's moving people out of neighborhoods. That doesn't mean arresting, that doesn't mean impounding cars, but we have to take a safe approach that respects the people who are also caravanning to get out of the neighborhoods to make them safe. And then secondly, we need to look at long-term city planning. So we do need to adjust some roads, and we do need to make some changes within our neighborhoods that make it to where the speed that's going through our neighborhoods can't happen to begin with. So we have to look at long-term city planning to help address these needs, or they're just going to keep coming back over and over again, as they have for the past 30 years.
Okay, thank you all. For the next question, Sheridan, I'd like for you to respond first, and then Greg, and then Joan. So how should the city handle persons living with mental illness who are put into the criminal justice system? Again, Sheridan first.
Thank you. I think we need to stop criminalizing mental illness. That is not fair. It is discriminatory. I'm a human resources professional, and so everything that I do is approached through the lens of equity. We need to give people a chance to be assessed and to be diagnosed to find out what the issues are and then treat those issues. If people are not treated, then that could lead to criminal activity or bad judgment. But if they are treated, then that will contribute to a healthier city. I think we have a negative stigma attached to mental illness, and so we need to change the perception among our constituents and embrace people regardless of where they sit on the mental illness spectrum. So my perception is that we need to stop criminalizing it and treat it as a health matter, not a criminal matter.
Thank you. Greg?
Yes, as Sheridan just said, we need to treat this as a health matter, not a criminal matter. That starts, though, with our police department, who are typically on the front lines of dealing with people who have mental illnesses. And so we have to work to provide social work and mental health training within our police departments. They need to have continuing education every year as a part of their overall training. And going into being a police officer, they need to have significant training within the police department to become an officer in the areas of mental health. And then once we get past that, we need to work to provide them the resources they need instead of just incarcerating people who are dealing with mental health issues. We've got to move beyond having a criminal process, and we've got to move to making sure that our police and our justice system looks at it as mental illness and treats it as such.
Okay, thanks, Greg. Joan?
Yes, we have recently lost lots of the help to our mentally ill citizens over by the state hospital. And I think that we need to look at what do we have available in Little Rock. It seems like that we work with these young people when they're children, but then when they become adults, there's nothing available to them. I was very impressed whenever we opened up the crisis building up by the jail, where we can take people with mental illness instead of taking them straight to the jail. But it only has very limited beds. and very limited services. I think that we need to look at what we have available and look at what other cities have done, and we need to expand on what is available to the people with those problems.
Oops. Okay, thank you. For the third question, we'll begin with Greg, and then, all right. Greg, Joan, and Sheridan. Yeah, I guess that's, yeah. Okay, so if you would please, what is your suggestion what would your suggestion be to the city for redeveloping neglected and abandoned houses and commercial properties as well, if you want to address that? Those that harm our neighborhoods due to the fact that they're neglected and abandoned. And again, Greg, would you please respond first?
Yes, so I think we do have to take several different issues, or several different ways with this. We have to work to encourage developers to get in, and if the building is rehabable, get in and rehab it, and try to do things to encourage developers to actually get in and take up these abandoned properties. I think the second thing we need to do is we need to utilize the land bank better to acquire properties, put them in a sellable order, and then move them off to developers to further develop. And I think that that's a big issue as far as, especially living here downtown with vacant properties, it would help our overall tax base. But we've got to treat it as an investment in the city and not just a nuisance within the city. That way we can raise our tax base throughout the city. And we have to utilize the resources within the city, such as the land bank that Director Adcock is on.
Okay, thank you. Joan?
Yes, I helped with the revitalization in the Love neighborhood a couple years ago, and we did a survey. We started out, we put money into that. We put $72,000 into a house, and we sold it for $60,000, which is what we intended to do. Because with that, $200,000 worth of reinvestment came into that neighborhood. We have found that whenever we start working in a neighborhood, but we have such limited funds, we need to have money put into neighborhoods to do revitalization. You know, we can do one here and one there, but we need to really look at how to revitalize the whole inner city and then go one neighborhood by one neighborhood, because when city puts money into it, then the private investors come in and start putting money into it. And we've seen that in the Love neighborhood. And I want to do that throughout the city.
Thank you. Sheridan?
Yes, thank you. When I walked through the Petaway neighborhood recently with constituents, it was brought to my attention that it is easier to build a new house here in Little Rock than it is to renovate existing homes. We need to look at our zoning laws. It's my understanding that we have stacked laws on top of one another over the years, just law on top of law on top of law, instead of going back and seeing which of these need to be reformed or done away with completely. And so for me, that's where it starts. And once we do that, then we can start talking about building affordable pathways to home ownership and also helping to address the issue of homelessness in our city, because we haven't done a very good job with that either. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, and for our final question, Joan, will you please respond first, and then Sheridan, and then Greg, and after that we'll have your closing comments. So for the final question, there's a need for more information in order to reform police departments. Do you support quarterly public reports on the Little Rock Police Department, totaling the number of shots fired, instances of use of force, the number of complaints against officers, and then the outcomes of reported incidents? Again, Joan, would you please respond first?
Yes, I do. I think that the more information we can get out to the public is the best for the public. But also, I want to encourage the neighborhood people to attend the quarterly meetings, because so much information is given at those meetings and the attendance is very low. So I would like to see us really work on getting more people to the quarterly meetings, but then have neighborhood quarterly meetings addressing the issues with the police department.
Okay, thank you. Sheridan.
Yes, I do support these regular reports. From a business perspective, what gets measured gets done. And so if we're not looking at the data, we can't address it. We need this data so we can identify what we need to focus on. I think we also need a zero tolerance policy for police misconduct. As an HR professional, when I think of progressive discipline, usually that includes termination for gross misconduct. Our officers need to know that if they do not do their job well and serving our city well, then they need to go find another position. And so looking at the progressive discipline process and the consequences rendered for misconduct is an issue I think also needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg, your turn.
Yes, and we absolutely need more transparent data, but not also just more transparent data. It needs to be better accessible. I do get those quarterly reports. I get those every single quarter. The problem is they're in a PDF. Often the format changes over and over again, and they're very, very difficult to extract data. So we need more data. We need better reports, but it also needs to be in a way that it's easily accessible so that somebody can go in and formulate their own reports to look at the data from different perspectives. We also need data not just that points toward crime. We also need to see what police officers are doing well. Working with the state before, what I found is that often the way you measure data leads to the data. So if we can look at positive areas that police force are doing in the city and things like that, in addition to the negative areas, then I think that would also help call out officers who are doing the right thing and encourage other officers to do the right thing as well.
Okay, thank you all. All right, so it's time for your closing comments. Sheridan, I'll ask you to give your closing comments first, and then Greg, and then Joan.
Thank you. I need you all to understand what is at stake with this election. If you give me your vote, I will work to create a more inclusive city. I want to unify our city across racial and socioeconomic lines through my vision for a fresh start. Fresh stands for family, reading, equity, skill development, and housing. If you select Director Adcock, you will get business as usual. I'd like to remind you that Director Adcock voted to maintain symbols of hatred in our city, such as keeping Confederate Boulevard rather than changing it to Springer Road, such as keeping Robert E. Lee as a part of Martin Luther King Day holiday. She is holding on to a checkered past instead of learning from it. If you give me your vote, I will work to build a more inclusive city. Please tell your friends and family to vote for Sheridan Richards for position 10. My website is votesheridanrichards.com.
Thank you. Greg, your closing comments.
Thank you again to Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods for hosting this forum. It's the best way to address citizens in large. I think the biggest question we face in this city director spot is, where do we want to go for a city? Are we happy being stuck in the past, making the same decisions and same mistakes over and over again that make us where we don't move forward? Or are we ready to move forward with the city? Moving forward means better schools, stronger diversity in our communities and businesses, modern city planning that takes up for neighborhoods in Little Rock, and a growing economy. If those things matter to you, and I hope that they do, then it's time for a change, and it's very obvious. If those things matter to you, then a vote for me as city director is also the obvious choice. Thank you again for hosting this Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods, and thank you for everybody who's attending and watching this after the fact.
Thank you, Greg. Joan, your closing comments.
Yes, thank you so much for having us today, because I think that I want the people to know exactly where each of us stand. I work for neighborhoods. I work for people. I love to serve people. Yesterday, as we gave out 1,152 boxes of food, lines all the way down Baseline Road, we need to address the needs of the people in our community. We have a lot of people that are in housing that is not good, and we need to address that. But it all has to be done working with the people. Saying big things and making big plans is great, but it has to start with our community, with our neighborhoods, and with the people. I have spent my 28 years serving the people of Little Rock. I've worked in housing. I've worked with the animals. Now I work very closely with our community, our Latino community, because we need to understand that we have neighborhoods that are very diverse, and we have to help our neighborhoods work with the diversity they have in them. I think that we have some wonderful police officers. I think that we need to acknowledge them. If we have problems, we need to address the problems. If you are happy to work with people, to bring people together, to serve people, please vote for Joan Adcock for Little Rock City Director, position 10. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here with us today, for responding to our questions, for taking the time to put yourself out and to serve the community. I'll turn it back over to Jim.
And this concludes this portion of the forum for at-large city director position 10. We will now have a brief 1-minute transition to the next race, position 8. So we're all a bit on pause. Thank you. Update on the Philip Bryant candidate in this race. I just spoke with him and he regrets he cannot attend. He is, in fact, out of town and in no position to take part. So we're going to have 8 race next. It's going to be with, position 8 race with Dean Kimpuris by himself. Let me start this segment for the recording. Welcome to the Coalition of Neighborhoods Forum in Little Rock this morning, Saturday, October 3rd, 2020. We're glad you're here. We will post this on Facebook and on YouTube by tomorrow. I'm going to turn this over now to Moderator John Hedrick.
Good morning. Welcome to the Candidate Forum sponsored by the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods. I'm John Hedrick, Vice President of the Downtown Neighborhood Association and moderator for the Position 8 City Director race. The event is being recorded and will be posted online. Details are on the slides that'll be shown periodically throughout the forum. The questioner, Luke Kramer, will introduce himself shortly. Timekeeper is Kathy Wells. And candidate will have since
Do we have a frozen screen?
Yes.
Okay. If you would like, I can go up again, Kathy, if you would like.
Yes, let's not delay any longer. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Luke Kramer. I'm the newly elected president of the Hillcrest Residents Association. Thank you guys for all being here. And thank you, Dr. Kampouris, for being here to ask these questions. So to answer these questions. So I'll go ahead and start. So far the city, I guess you have an opening statement. I'm sorry, you have a 1-minute opening statement.
Well, I appreciate y'all doing this today. The real question always comes up when people ask me why I'm doing this, and I will tell you it's because I think there's some unfinished business. I know when you run for office, you want to look at the glass being half empty, but I want to look at it being half full and that we need to fill it up completely. And there are 3 areas that I want to work in and continue working in. And one is economic development, especially south of 630 and east of I-30. And there's many ways that we can do that. And because of the crisis we've had now, people have come together to really work together on those areas. The second issue that people take for granted is if this city is going to move forward, we have to have young people who want to live here. And in order to do that, we have to work on quality of life issues. And that's one of the things that I think is important, whether you're talking about the river or more parks or more biking or coffee shops or whatever areas we have to work in. And then schools need to be helped, and the city board can help with after-school programs. And I think that is a great way to help in that area. And if we do all 3 of those, then public safety comes along and becomes an issue that is less important because we're taking care of that issue doing other things other than policing. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kampouris. For the first question we have, so far the city has had no success in stopping nuisance car caravans, disturbing the peace late at night, creating traffic, safety hazards, etc. What would be your remedy?
Well, I think that really your question has 2 questions to it. One is, what do you do immediately? And immediately you have to do more enforcement. You have to start stopping people. You have to start taking down license numbers. You have to start issuing citations to discourage people. And if you really look at this, and I've talked to the mayor about this, a significant portion of the people that are doing this are from outside our city limits. So they come here to gather together. But the bigger issue is why people are doing this. We've gone through 6 months of a pandemic. People are out of work. They need someplace to go. And I think we need to, at the city board level, start looking at what we do for young people to give them opportunities to be someplace other than on the street caravanning. So that's a 2-part answer to your question. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kampouris. This question is pretty close to my heart, but how should the city handle persons living with mental illness who were put into the criminal justice system?
Well, it's the wrong place to put them. I mean, that's a real easy answer to that. Really, I think that the question I suspect you're asking is, what do we do with our homeless problems in Little Rock, where you have a significant part of people who are having mental illness? And I think that we need to take more of our PIT money and work on helping take care of those situations. We need to provide counseling, we need to provide resources, but we don't need to do it on a short-term basis. This is a long-term problem. And the state hospital can't take care of it. Many cities have got great programs looking at this, and we've looked at the model in Austin on how to address this, and leading people from homelessness, mental illness into home ownership and getting them off the streets is the only way to do it. But there is no short-term answer. But going back to your point, it is not part of the criminal justice system. If someone has an ulcer, we don't put it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, next question. What is your suggestion to the city to redevelop neglected and abandoned houses, which ultimately harm our neighborhoods?
Well, again, you're really asking multiple questions. One is that we need to figure out how to use the land bank more efficiently. We have houses, we need people that will come take those occupancies and make them livable situations. But the real issue is, how do you get money to people who want to do it? And if you look at what's gone on and what one of the tenets of the protesters were, is that the people south of 630 and east of I-30 have no banking situation they trust. So you have to get banks into those areas to help with that. But the second biggest thing is we need to develop a fund, and we're doing that right now. We're at about $2.5 million to give people loans who want to get into homes where they don't qualify for a regular bank loan. And if we start doing that, and we start, you're too quick.
Let's go fast.
Thank you. And for the last question, in discussion of reforming police departments, a need for more information is highlighted. Do you support quarterly public reports on Little Rock Police totaling the number of shots fired, instances use of force, and the number of complaints against officers and outcomes of these reports?
Short answer is yes. A long time ago, Kathy and Jim will remember, Larry Lichty was on the board, and he came back and said we need to be more transparent. I hate that word, but we need to be able to have people understand the city budget. I think we need to go back and do something like Larry did and form or get a situation where you can put that information out. But it just can't be on a website. We need to be very proactive about that, taking articles out in the paper like we do for announcements for different things, putting it online so people can read it and understand it, but it has to be in a way where people can truly understand what's going on and if we're making improvements or not. We have a great police department. We have problems with some officers, and we need to address the people that we're having problems with, help the people that are there and make their life better, and have the citizens understand how we're doing things moving forward. So that would be my response to that. We need to have more transparency, again, a word I don't like, in the police reporting.
Thank you so much for your time. I know that you have a closing remark. Once again, this is for race for position 8, the at-large city director. We have incumbent Dr. Dean Kampouris. He's also running against Philip Bryant, who's not able to be here today. So if you would like, please give us your final statement, Dr. Kampouris.
Well, I appreciate y'all doing this today, and I welcome the opportunity to tell you about myself and the way I'd like to do things. We are in unprecedented times. We've had a crisis, and as I've said before, I believe and truly believe you never let a good crisis go to waste. We have seen people come together like I've never seen people come together before, especially in the business community, to try to help take care of this city and make things better. We have complex issues, and I think I understand the complexity of the issues. And I think I have the experience to help solve the problems moving forward. I think I have the relationships to help that. So I would appreciate your vote and re-elect me to position 8. So thank you. And thank y'all for
Thank you so much, Dr. Kampouris. Also want to thank Kathy Wells, President Kathy Wells of the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods, for putting this forum together. It's been informative so far for me this morning, so I appreciate your time. I'll go ahead and go back to, is John Hendrick, are you with us?
Yes, I lost my internet connection for a minute there, but
okay. If you have any closing statements, then I'm done. Thank you.
no, that's it then, Kathy. Thank you.
Yeah. If I may chime in, Kathy, just very briefly, you're doing a great job as always. Everyone salutes you for organizing this forum. It's complex and a lot of moving pieces. However, when a candidate is about to make the point, because some of these questions deserve a little context before they make their point, let's let them make their point. I I know you've got to run a tight ship and all that, but Dr. Campuris didn't get to make his point about the empty and neglectful housing situation. And so we can let them make their point without letting them go on. And that would be my hope.
We're doing a little bit ahead of time so we can give them some slack. Appreciate that. Thank you, Jim. And just to finish out the recording, we have concluded the Position 8 at-large City Director Candidate Forum this morning for the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods, and we're taking a pause to transition to the Position 9 race. We have a few latecomers to the fold, so bear with us. Thank you.
You know, Kathy, you could give people like a 15-second warning before their time is up.
Probably not on a minute. I'm sorry. I have a feeling that would, I would fumble that. Let me just say that. I'm sorry. I can do a minute, but by the time I say 15 seconds, whoops. If I may, I would like to do a roll call since we have a large number in this race. I want to make sure that we have everyone. So let me just call the names and make sure that we are all present. We have Picard. Are you here, sir?
Picard, yes.
McAdoo, are you present?
Yes, ma'am.
Swartz, are you present? I thought we had here. Larry, did we not have Schwartz?
We have
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Schwartz, okay. Now I can hear you. News, are you here?
Yes.
Bubbas, are you here?
Yes.
Are you named Bubbas, or you have some more obscure listing on your name? We weren't sure you were here, so we want to get clear on that you're here.
I'm here.
Great. Phillips, are you here?
I'm present.
Great. Horton, did you make it in? We spoke.
Wait a minute. It says start video alternate V.
I'm sorry. Is that Mr. Horton? Do we have Mr. Horton present? Well, he just communicated with me that he was getting online. Bear with me just a moment. I will call him back and we will see if we have a tech to resolve.
He does appear in the participants list. He is on with audio and video.
Mr. Horton, would you please tell us that you're present? Okay, great. All right. We will now begin the Position 9 Candidate Forum. Welcome to the Little Rock Candidate Forum sponsored by the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods. I'm President Kathy Wells. This will be posted tomorrow on both our Facebook page and at YouTube. The slides coming through will detail the location. We are so glad you're here. We ask you to mute yourself until you speak so that background noise does not interfere with our recording. We have 7 candidates in this Position 9 race for at-large city director. I'm now going to turn this over to moderator Sheila Miles.
Welcome to the Candidate Forum sponsored by the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods.
My name is Sheila Miles. I serve as president of the Wright Avenue Neighborhood Association. Also, I am your moderator for position 9 of the City of Little Rock Board of Directors. This event will be recorded and posted online. Details of the online event will be displayed periodically throughout this forum. Our questioner for position 9 is Hunter Wendell, and our timekeeper is Kathy Wells. Each candidate will have 1 minute to open, 1 minute to close, and 1 minute each to reply to our 4 questions. The same question will be given in turn to each candidate in that race. For fairness, the one to reply first will shift with each question. The one giving the first opening statement will not make the first closing statement. Let's begin with the opening statements. We will begin opening statements for position 9 with Mr. Dale Picard.
Okay, no more subsidies for the exurbs. Little Rock has invested tens of millions of dollars in its radio system, communication center, and fire department. It now sells those services to the exurbs for a mere pittance. These contracts must be canceled or renegotiated on terms favorable to the City of Little Rock. Also, we need to establish a community services department. We need to develop a cadre of social workers and specially trained EMTs to handle calls for welfare checks, homelessness, excessive use of alcohol and other drugs, and other nonviolent situations. We should not be expecting the police to serve as social workers. We also need to fix 30 Crossing. The primary focus of I-30 downtown must be on serving those who live, work, or recreate downtown, not on those who simply want to get past the downtown area as quickly as possible. With my experience as an economist and a contract negotiator, I can offer the voters good value in addressing these concerns. Thank you.
Mr. McAdoo, please give us your opening statement.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for the invitation. LittleRockLove.com. I said LittleRockLove.com. I am running for at-large position 9, which is citywide. Anywhere within the city limits, you can vote for me. I've been a visual artist all my life. My first memories in this world were of drawing and on walls. I've been an entrepreneur since 1992, an educator since 1994, a community insider, but a political outsider. I am for youth advocacy, positive policing and safety, arts and culture, and quality of life. We must be not only successful, but great as well. And it's past time for change. And that's my time, and it's your time for Little Rock Love.
Thank you. Mr. Swartz. Mr. Swartz, can you provide your opening statement?
Well, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
I could not find the right button to do the video, so we'll just have to do it this style. I am Glenn Schwartz, Florida State graduate in physics, and been in Southwest Little Rock for about 34 years. And I wanted to, I started running for office to legalize marijuana, actually, and I didn't realize it was going to take me 30 years to get that done. But that's almost done now. We have medical, and it'll still be legal probably in 2022. So I want to move on and do something else for mankind. I want to fight global warming, and I want to prepare Little Rock for the future. And I think the way to fight global warming is to build a thorium nuclear power plant and a hemp-based biofuels power plant down at the River Rock Port, and use the power from these to shut down 2 coal-fired plants and save about 200 railroad car loads of coal every day. I'm going to prepare Little Rock for the future.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Mr. Muse?
As an educator, I can capture the attention of my students and create a learning environment that works very well. Outside the classroom, I am a participant observer of how people interact with one another. I listen and hear what citizens say are their concerns. This ability is a requirement, in my view, for good city government. I am experientially and academically prepared to serve as your at-large representative on the city board. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bubbis?
Yes, I'm David Allen Bubbis from David's Burgers, and I love Little Rock. You know, we've got stores all over the city, and I've had the opportunity to serve and love on people from all over the city, whether it's out west, downtown, southwest, midtown. I've gotten to know the people of Little Rock, and they really deserve better. We've got to do a better job of bringing people together, taking care of one another, doing more for our neighborhoods. That's part of what we're here to talk about today. Safety. You know, we've got to work with the police better. We've got to work with our racial division better and have better understanding. We've got to be better listeners. So all of this, a lot of this is really about unity, listening, bringing people together, working together, because there's so much fighting going on right now. So I'm excited. I love Little Rock, and I am looking forward to the opportunity to serve and help bring people together to solve these problems.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Thank you. I'm Antoine Phillips, and I am Little Rock. I was born and built here. I attended 6 elementary schools in our city, and I graduated from John L. McClellan High School. I went off to college at Bowdoin College in Brunswick, Maine, where I earned a degree in American politics. And then I came back home. I graduated law school from the UA Bowen School of Law, and I've been practicing law for 11 years at Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings Law Firm, where I'm a partner. I'm married to my wife, Tanisha. We've been married over 10 years. And I'm in this race because I believe in better. I believe in a better Little Rock that is enriched by better neighborhoods, enriched by better economic opportunities, and enriched by better recreational options for all our residents. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today to talk about why I believe in better and the work we can do to make better happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Horton? Mr. Horton, we can see you, but we can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. Mary, I don't know if he needs assistance with something, but we cannot hear him. Can you try to unmute your phone? I mean, unmute your computer? Or do you have your speaker on your computer?
He's not muted.
Okay, well, maybe his speaker is on. I notice he has a phone up to his ear, so I don't know if he's trying to talk through the phone also.
Since we are running ahead, I'm going to mute myself and see if I can assist offline. Bear with us for a moment.
Okay. Okay. No.
Perhaps you can move on with the questions and get back
Okay.
to Mr. Horton later.
Okay. All right. So we will have our first question, and Mr. Wendell will ask a first question, and then we'll rotate in the sequence, and the first person who will answer the first question will be Mr. McAdoo. So I will ask that Mr. Wendell will ask the first question.
Yeah, thanks, Sheila. My name's Hunter Wendell. I'm the current president for the Capitol View Stiff Station Neighborhood Association. Glad to be able to join you all today. And I will start with the first question. Mr. McAdoo will have the first response. The first question is, so far, the city has had no success in stopping nuisance car caravans disturbing the peace late at night, creating traffic safety hazards, etc. What would be your remedy, Mr. McAdoo?
Yes, well, I believe what you have to do is find out the cause first. You have to see, why are these people doing this? This is something abnormal. This is something that hasn't been happening in the past. So there's a reason why this is happening. And if we do not stop the cause of this effect, then we will simply get another effect, whether it be, I don't know what that other effect will be, but we have to stop it at its root cause and not simply stop the effect and results of something that has happened. However, you do need to address the safety issues that may be happening immediately. But again, if you do not ever get back to the cause of why it's happening and remedy that, then you will get some type of effect that comes from that and some type of result. So that's I think there has to be some communication that happens, and that I think that's how we deal with that.
All right, thank you, Mr. McAdoo. Mr. Schwartz, your response?
All right. Well, you're talking about the people that are like, rodding around and making donuts on the streets and stuff like that. Gee, I'm sorry, I can't find the video button for this. You just have to treat it like a radio show then.
Lower left.
How much left? Okay. With that, that's basically a disturbing the peace ticket. And I guess they have, maybe my plan to increase the gas tax on and taxes on tires and stuff might help, because burning tires and burning gas for no reason is just wasteful. I don't know why the kids are doing that. They've got their cars and they're out there riding around. And it's I saw somebody doing it near my house. It fills the air with rubber smoke. I don't like it, but it's a disturbing the peace kind of deal.
Okay, time's up.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Mr. Muse, your response.
Thank you. I believe that these are young individuals who come from outside of the city for entertainment, and this is the only type of entertainment they can find at present. I agree with Dr. Compuris, Director Compuris, that we need to get to a point where we can provide to younger individuals opportunities to have fun legally, so that they do not feel they have to form a string of automobiles, and screeching the tires and having the fun in that particular way. I believe that that is a tall order, but I believe it's doable. I believe that we do need to investigate. We could ask the young people who participate, what would you like to do if you had the opportunity to do it? What can we provide to you that would make you want to participate? That's the approach I would take.
Thank you. Mr. Bubbas.
Okay, I'm on now.
Yes, sir.
All right. You know, this is why the neighborhoods need to vote for me. I implore you. One of the biggest challenges that we have in Little Rock is going to be safety. It's going to be crime. It's going to be breaking the law. And we need a leader that can be able to balance that with some sensitivity. I understand that there's racial issues going on right now, and we've got to deal with that with compassion, with looking at that with some sensitivity and some empathy. You know, that's greatly needed. At the same time, we have to stop people that are breaking the law. When how far does this go? You know, I've heard one candidate say, you know, we need to listen when they're breaking the law. I've heard another candidate, we need to provide them opportunities for fun when they're breaking the law. So how far do we take that? So do we listen when they're when these people are breaking the law by vandalizing our homes, or when if it's fun to go in and damage someone's home or someone's neighborhood or someone's community? Do we listen then? I mean, at what point do we have to say we have to stop criminal activity and do it the right way? Do it with compassion, do it with sensitivity, do it the right way. But we cannot allow our neighborhoods to be unsafe. We cannot allow property damage to occur. We cannot allow for our neighborhoods to feel unsafe. That is one of our priorities as a city, and our responsibilities as a city is to make sure our homeowners feel safe in their community. And I think it's outrageous that we've got to have the guts to say that, but also be willing to understand all of the problems with policing that have occurred, and to say we've got to do better with those things. So I hope that neighborhoods will support me.
I'd like to.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Miss Kathy.
I said wrap it up, friend.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Horton, I believe, is back. Mary, can we pull him up and maybe just give him his 1 minute opening here and work him back in the rotation?
Okay, I put on mute.
Okay. Can y'all hear Mr. Horton there? Can y'all hear him on the screen?
A little bit.
There's a little bit. You're very low. Can you raise your volume? Okay. One moment, please, everyone. Sheila, as moderator, can you hear him?
It's very low. I can't hear him well enough to understand what he's saying.
Mr. Horton, there is a background noise, like running water or something rubbing together. I tell you what, let's hang up the phone and see. Okay, let's turn off the phone. Okay.
Kathy, do you want me to go ahead and move on, or do you want to take a couple more minutes to?
Let's take 1 more minute here, Heather.
Okay.
Yeah, is his computer volume up?
Horton? Okay, that didn't fix the problem. Let me, okay, Hunter, you go on with the next one, and I'll tell Mr. Horton that we are sadly lacking in.
Ms. Webb, you could possibly put him on your speaker, allow him to call you, and that way he could talk through your phone. That could be a possibility.
I'm sorry, no, I have to do the timekeeping. I can't double track the phone. I beg your pardon.
Okay. Moving on, Mr. Picard, do you need me to repeat that first question we asked?
No, I think I'm okay. I think the main thing we have to do, of course, is to address the public safety concern. If folks are out there endangering other people, endangering other lives, that has to be addressed immediately. In the greater context, though, it would be good to find out why they're doing it. If they're just doing it for fun, that's one thing. If it's some kind of social protest, as has been suggested, then that kind of takes us down a different path. But either way, the main thing, of course, is public safety, and then find out, as has been suggested otherwise, find out why, and then try to address it accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, I want to interrupt just a moment. I think we skipped Mr. Phillips.
Yes, I'm sorry. I noticed that while Mr. Picard was answering with all the confusion.
Okay.
Mr. Phillips, would you like to answer the question, please?
Absolutely. I still hear some stats in the background, though. Can we? Okay. And I think I remember the question, so I'll get started. Thank you again for having us. And what we're hearing with this question is the issue of philosophy for our city. Are we just going to be a quote unquote law and order city, or are we going to do both and? This is not an either or question. Absolutely, we need to have enforcement to prevent people from committing crimes. But if you don't address the root cause issue, those caravans will just move from one part of town to the other. And unless you're going to have military force on every parking lot and every street and every part of the city, that doesn't work until you address the root cause issue. And the root cause issue is part of our campaign platform, which is better recreation options. I don't need to talk to the people involved in this because I understand why they're doing it. I don't need to talk to the young people because I'm the youngest person in my race. I get it. There's a lack of recreational options in our city that's showing up with the caravan. It's also showing up with people leaving our city to move other places. We have a diverse city.
Time is up, wrap it up.
All right. In economic standing and in race, we must address recreational opportunities throughout our city to make sure these things don't continue to happen. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Kathy, any luck?
Sadly, the technical problems could not be overcome. He is going to consult with a technical aid of his. It's possible that he might come in later, but at any event, he thanks us for the opportunity and regrets that he could not make it work. So go forward at this point without Mr. Horton in the rotation.
Thank you, Kathy. Moving on to the second question. How should the city handle persons living with mental illness who are put in the criminal justice system? The first candidate to answer this question will be Mr. Schwartz. Mr. Schwartz, are you there?
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
The mental health, you know, back in the 80s, Ronald Reagan closed down the mental health institutions to save a few nickels or something back then. And the result is that these people have all been, you know, walking around the streets and, you know, not getting any care at all. So I think my solution would be to reopen the insane asylums. If somebody's that mentally off that they need to be, you know, in an institution where they can be cared for and not, you know, be a danger to themselves or others. How long are we getting for these questions? One
minute, and you were within your time.
Still within my time? Okay.
You were inside
so
your
should be outreach for, you know, dealing with the situation we have. There should be outreach, like they have the Veterans Day Center, stuff, I support stuff like that. But I think it actually goes all the way back to Ronald Reagan closing the insane asylums to save money in the 80s.
All right.
All we got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Next up will be Mr. Muse for his response to the second question.
I would take some of or speak with the directors, and hopefully we can decide to take some of the budget, $81 million that's in the police department, and hire professional people who provide the services that these individuals need. We do not need to spend money training police to act as social workers. We need professionals ready and available to talk with and work with these individuals who might be expressing, for whatever reason, mental illness. We do not need to lock people up in insane asylums. I believe that there is a solution to this, and we just need more professionals in the field of mental illness to be readily available. Oftentimes, these individuals
wrap it up.
Oftentimes, these individuals are homeless, and there are many reasons why people become homeless. But one of them is mental illness, and we do not need to treat them like criminals. We just need to identify them and put them with a professional so that we can work through the process to put them back on their feet and be more stabilized and then participate in society.
Thank you. Mr. Bubbas, your response.
I think this is another area, obviously, with public safety and doing what we can to work within the community to be sensitive to things and be a good listener to also keep our community safe. Am I back on?
We can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. I got a phone call, but I think that's safety is a distinguishing characteristic that I will have as a candidate for this position. I also think problems like this will be another way that I can distinguish myself from the other candidates here. I think you'll hear most of the answers be that we need to go out and fix the problem directly, or we'll need to, go out just like you just heard and, expand the budget or spend more money to do this. And I'm not saying we don't need to devote resources to it, but what we've got to do, we've got to work with our local nonprofits better. I was just looking through a list here of some local nonprofits from Our House, Dorcas House, Jericho Way, Union Rescue Mission. We have got a lot of great nonprofits that have been working in this community for years that are experts in this field, and we failed to work with them. I'm sorry?
Time expired.
So rather just a long story short, I would look to work with the people that are already addressing the issue and try to make them better, because we have great people doing great work, rather than going off on my own and trying to within the city that way.
All right, thank you. Mr. Phillips.
Thank you for that question. What's important here is that people with mental illness should not be in our criminal justice system. That is not the help that they need. We need to look at this holistically. And I bring my legal experience into this arena. As an attorney, a lot of times I'm presented with problems for my clients, and it requires me to go and find and work with an expert. And I've worked with some of the nonprofit organizations that were just listed. And I think we can take 40% of our budget, which is solely devoted to the police department, and use some of those resources to make sure that there are social workers addressing these type of issues to keep those people out of the criminal justice system. Again, we can't be out here trying to address the symptoms without addressing the root causes, because otherwise the symptoms will keep popping up. And the way you address the root cause is that we take our city and work with the people who are working in this field to address these issues, which includes revising our police department policies to allow for the interactions to have a more tangible partnership in that arena.
Time has expired. Wrap it up.
And that's all I have. Thank you, Ms. Wells.
All right, thank you. Next, Mr. Picard.
Well, thank you. Well, this fits in nicely with the concept of the establishing the community services department. So you'd have trained people ready to handle these kind of situations. when those calls come in. And of course, they would be working with the existing groups working in this area. So I'd say that would be the first thing. Other things you can do with the folks who are out on the streets like that is to set up designated payers. So you have a concept there where basically they have difficulty managing their money, but you have a designated payer set up to handle their money, be sure their rent gets paid, their utilities get paid, and they stay in housing. Thank you.
Thank you. To wrap up this question, I'll turn it to Mr. McAdoo for your response.
So being an educator since 1994, I get everybody. People that end up being athletes, being attorneys, being doctors, being homeless, being mentally ill, being criminals. I worked at the alternative school for 9 years. So I've seen and heard and know the stories. Where do you think we find out about some of these mental illnesses? I've worked K through 12. And in that time period, I've seen kids be diagnosed. I've seen kids get modifications. So we see it happen there. So as the city prepares to partner with the school district through these wraparound services that will happen with community schools, we can start early in getting to that root cause, because as an educator, once again, I see it early. And also we can connect arts and culture to this, because what more or better therapy can you have than art therapy through dance, music, art, writing, and all of those other things.
Wrap it up.
Therapeutic. And I'll wrap it up without a wrap.
Thank you. Moving along to the third question for you all. What is your suggestion to the city to redevelop neglected and abandoned houses which harm our neighborhoods? The first candidate to respond to this question will be Mr. Muse. Your response, please.
Thank you. I am living in and have been living in my home of 33 years, south of I-630. We have made major improvements in this area, but it's taken time and involvement to do so. I have been able to bring in, working directly with the city, $10 million worth of infrastructure within Forest Hills. Other areas of the city have taken this opportunity to do as well. I do believe that the housing stock that we have is restorable, most of it. They don't build houses like they do these older homes, like mine. I believe that we need to have monies infused into rehabilitation of the existing structures. If we have vacant lots, then we need to build new houses, but the architecture should fit in with the surrounding area. I believe that there are ways. Okay. Oh, wrap up. Okay.
Wrap it up.
I am also an advocate for reestablishing apprenticeships in the construction industry so that people of all ages can learn a trade that is lucrative, that they can live well with without suffering financially, that they would have a job that would pay better than most, but also contribute to the restoration of homes and the building of new in the areas that are needed.
Thank you. Mr. Bubbas, your response. And because there's so many, I guess, candidates here, if y'all need me to ever ask the question again, don't hesitate to let me know.
We've got to work better with our contractors, developers. We've got to have more open arms toward this. I think oftentimes we have developers or people that are wanting to, either renovate, tear down, have new plans for these homes. And oftentimes we, don't open our arms when they come. Rather, we're looking for problems. We're looking to enforce our own ideals or goals rather than listening and trying to put forth something where we can work together as a community and develop.
You're being covered over by some distortion. You need to repeat yourself. And
okay. I'd like a little more time if I could. Can y'all mute that person, whoever that is?
Thanks.
Is going
Muted.
So that's one part of it. Another part of it is we have a city code in Little Rock, and when in certain circumstances, when a home is abandoned and it is a danger to the community, whether by fire or other issues, those homes can be demolished. So in certain circumstances, that needs to occur in order to keep our homes in our community safe and free from harm. So those are some of the things that we need to work on in the city to help protect our communities. That's very important. One of the issues with Little Rock is safety, whether it's talking about homes that are abandoned or, people riding motorcycles in the streets. It just, we've got to work together for both of these
Wrap
issues.
it up, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Phillips.
I appreciate this question, and it goes to the heart of our Better Neighborhoods platform agenda, which is important in creating a better Little Rock. As a person who grew up in Little Rock, I've lived all over the city. I've lived next to the abandoned houses. I lived in houses that probably should have been abandoned and torn down. So I understand the importance of it and how this affects our communities. What we need to do to address these issues, we have to revise our zoning code to make it more inclusive for our developers to be able to develop these properties. We have to revise the land bank policies. I've talked to developers who said, I would go purchase the lot or the home that's on the land bank list right now. That's only costs, I think I counted, there's over 10 homes on the land bank list right now that's under $5,000. People are ready to invest and improve our neighborhoods, but our code is hurting it. There's a lien hurdle that a lot of developers don't want to deal with, so they don't take the time to invest in these properties. We have to change that. As a lawyer, I understand rules, I understand regulations, understand ordinances, and I think I'm in a position.
Wrap it up, please.
I'm in a position to change those policies to address those dilapidated homes. And also, we must do that because it brings revenue to our city so we can address the parts of town that have been neglected. So that's a very important issue, and I think I'm the best candidate to address it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Picard.
Well, first thing we have to do is go ahead and look at things like with the abandoned lots. Many times those things just sit there indefinitely, and the city ends up mowing them, taking care of them, and really does not charge the landowner enough for that service. And so we need to go ahead and revise that schedule of fees to be sure that we're being fully compensated when the city does take action on the empty lots, boarding up abandoned houses, that kind of thing. So we have to put some financial pressure on the people with those properties because many of them are just speculating. They're just holding on to the property and hoping that something will come up and make it more profitable in the future. So I'd think, that would be the first thing to do in that area. And we also ought to go ahead and look at our tax and fee structure to restructure it to encourage use rather than letting the property just sit unused.
Wrap it up.
All right, thank you. Next, Mr. McAdoo, your response, please.
What is Little Rock love? Little Rock love is having pride in the place that you live in. Being an educator, once again, I recognize as I train students to either go into career or college that they have to have volunteer hours. They look, search, and glean for these volunteer hours all the time. So these could be great opportunities for them to go into the community and do what they need to do. As college students, I know they have to have volunteer hours. Also, it's a quality of life issue. We have to connect and share the way that we want one person to live. Everyone should live like that. Every neighborhood should be the best neighborhood in Little Rock. You shouldn't be able to distinguish them by abandoned houses and vacant lots. So I think that we have to have partnerships with schools and educational places and allow them.
Please.
and give it to them. And we also have to have pride in our own neighborhoods and do that as well for ourselves.
Thank you. To wrap up this question, Mr. Schwartz, your response.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
The homeless problem reminds me of The Grapes of Wrath, you know, the great novel from the Depression. And what happened there was they were having all kinds of problems, but they went into a government camp for the homeless or for the migrants at that time. So maybe we should think about some kind of a problem, you know, some kind of a solution like that, where we would have like a camp for homeless people to make sure they get, you know, enough food and some direction and transportation to you know, get to their day job or to find a job. That would be kind of helpful. So yeah, the Depression style campgrounds for the homeless would be my aspect for that. But going back to that other question, you know, a lot of the homeless are mentally mentally incapacitated. But if they're really, you know, a danger to themselves or to society, they need to be in an asylum. Right now, they're taking up space in a lot of jails and stuff. So, yeah,
Mr.
Depression
Schwartz,
style.
please wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Okay.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, think back to the Grapes of Wrath and the Depression. I would do homeless camps and reopen the insane asylums.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to question 4. The first respondent to this question will be Mr. Bubbas. The question is, in discussion of reforming police departments, a need for more information.
Reforming police department.
Do you support quarterly public reports on our LR police covering the details of shots fired by police, instances of use of physical force, complaints against officers, and outcomes of these reports? Thank you. And again, Mr. Bubbas, if you want to respond first, please.
Okay. Am I on now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. You know, we have methods in place currently for the police department to report this type of information. So one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to come in and create redundant programs that stifle or slow down our police department when we already have things that can provide information on police shootings or other things that occur. So, I mean, the real problem here is a lot of this that needs to be addressed with some training, with working with community sensitivity, how to deal with issues, whether it's mental illness or things of that nature. So, you know, I think I can come in, I really feel confident that I can work with the mayor, I can work with the Black community to try to bring about some good change in this area. At the same time, we've got to understand that one of Little Rock's biggest problems is safety. People are scared in Little Rock. People don't come to Little Rock often because they're scared. And we have the same problem in the Black community with fear. So I just want to conclude that by saying that I am excited about working with the police to try to make them better, and also work with the community to address their concerns while making Little Rock a safe place for our communities.
Kathy, if I may, can I chime in just for a second? I've had a little bit of experience with this last question, because years ago we did ask the city board to require the PD to make public quarterly statistics on use of firearms, discharge of firearms, use of physical force, meaning the police putting hands on people, and so on and so forth. The city board rejected the idea. It was a long time ago. Nothing's been done since. We now have a renewed public resurgence of broad public interest in police reform and police practices on the street. This is not done in Little Rock. There may be in the incident reports that each officer files when something happens, they make a police call where they have to record, you know, on the form, did they draw their weapon? Did they discharge their weapon? did they use physical force on anybody in the episode and so forth? But I want to point out, and the last speaker was just incorrect on this, this information is not publicly reported. I don't believe that it's on anybody's desk on a Friday morning where they can respond to a public inquiry and so forth. And so that's the point of the question. Before we can reform police and make it more effective and improve community safety, we have to know where we stand. We have to know a baseline. Is the police department headed in the right direction? Are we shooting fewer people? Are we pushing people to the ground less and not putting our knees on their necks? And what else? I want the rest of the candidates to be clear. This information is not being reported in Little Rock, and I can assure you that if we ask Chief Humphrey or the mayor or anybody on the city board tomorrow to report these statistics, they wouldn't know. Thank you.
Back to you, Mr. Wendell, and continue.
Thank you. Our next candidate to respond in the forum on this question will be Mr. Phillips. Do you need me to repeat the question?
I just want to say
No, I
that
think I
there
got
are
it.
statistics. There are some statistics posted on these types of actions, whether it be violence or other. But those statistics are available. I'm looking at some of them now. So
Mr. Bubbas, there's no statistics being posted on how many times guns were discharged, how many people were shot, and how many people were pushed to the ground and wrestled to the ground unnecessarily. There's no statistics on that.
I guess we'll have to agree to disagree, because I'm looking at some now that show the stats in Little Rock for their police department. You know, I am willing to work to make those stats more readily available if that's necessary.
All right, thank you both. Mr. Phillips, again, do you want to respond to this question?
Yeah, in light of that, and just for the sake of the viewers, I think it may make sense to repeat the question.
Sure. So the question again is, in discussion of reforming police departments, a need for more information is highlighted. Do you support quarterly public reports on our LR police covering the details of shots fired by police, instances of use of physical force, complaints against officers, and the outcomes of these reports?
The simple answer to that question is yes. We're talking about more accountability through transparency. I personally, this summer, when all the protests happened, I went to the police department policy handbook on use of force, and I personally compared what we are currently doing. And I'm looking at a graphic that I created and I put on social media. The Little Rock Police Department does not require the including of the reporting of the threat of force. So there's a number of things that are not being reported that needs to be reported to our people. But more important than sharing the information is what we do with the information. We got to make sure that people that are violating our use of force policies, that is made aware and actions are taken towards those police officers. We must have a safe city that includes not only citizen on citizen violence, but cop on citizen violence. We have to stop that. And I've thought of ways to make this more accessible to our people. We need to rotate our city board meetings to the number of community centers and libraries throughout the city. There's no reason with the advent of technology and Zoom that we couldn't have a city board meeting at the D. Brown Library or the Williams Library or the Dunbar Community Center. So people in those communities can have direct communication and interaction with the police department in a forum where they can talk about these statistics. And I also want to talk to the first candidate talking about working with the Black community. This shouldn't be a community issue. We're talking about the force in our city. We're talking about a police department. That's the entire city issue. And I don't have to work with the Black community because I am a Black man. I understand what the fear that happens to anyone who looks like me when you have an encounter with the police department. So I don't have to work with anyone to understand how important this issue is and how we need to do something about it immediately.
Thank you. Next, we will turn to Mr. Pekar for his response.
Yes, sir. Thank you. First, I'd like to ask Mr. Bubbas to please go ahead and post that link that he's looking at so we can all share it and see if it's addressing Mr. Lynch's concerns in any way. And I would agree with the other people, of course, that you know, the information that's gathered should be presented, it should be out there, it should be open, it should be accessible. And I think it ties in nicely. If we look at this information, it can help us identify those things which would be better addressed by a community services department rather than by armed police officers whose very presence sometimes can escalate the situation instead of improving it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. McAdoo.
No one wants police reform more than someone who's been a victim of it, like myself. So I don't really have to see the statistics to understand that it happens and happens often. And so I know that we have to push for accountable policing, and that is a great step in doing it. And I've actually talked to police officers because we have resource officers within schools, and I know people from my church community and within the community, working in the community, standing by them during protests. I've talked to them one-on-one, and they've told me that there has to be some reform in the police department in two areas. One, in how it operates and the bias and the other things that have come out in certain suits here recently. All of that needs to be addressed. And the second thing needs to be the community outreach. And what they've said is there are things in place that if they are just implemented and supported, that they would have.
Wrap it up, friend.
To wrap it up, this is a public safety issue, a quality of life issue. And yes, we have to have those statistics out so that we can see it and then move on it and not be data driven, but data informed.
Right, thank you. Next, Mr. Schwartz, your response.
Yes, we used to, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You know, being a marijuana smoker, we used to disparage police back in the 70s and kind of, you know, that generation. But one day I saw a billboard, and it said, if you get in trouble, call a hippie. And that thing kind of had an effect on me. I went, well, yeah. So this is, these days I support the LRP. I support the you know, back the blue kind of deal. We cannot have a civilization, we cannot have laws and order if people are going to consider the police the enemy. I don't know who would possibly volunteer for, who would possibly step forward to be a policeman if they are not respected by the community. So we need to get out of that deal. I think that they should have some de-escalation training would be appropriate. They don't have to be, you know, too aggressive. But these guys, our civilization and our system of law and order depends on honest and good people becoming policemen.
All right, thank you. And then final response on this question, Mr. Muse.
I want to stop the video part.
Oh, look, he lost his video.
Yeah, there we go. Someone shut it off earlier and I kept asking what happened. The more data, the better to analyze. Not everyone understands how to analyze data, but it is a good idea to have professionals to show the data as they do in quarterly meetings now. But it,
so the light is on.
Oftentimes it is rushed through, and not much time is left to respond. And we also have the city divided into different districts, I think they call it, where that it's a large area and there may be shootings and murders and all sorts of things happening in one section, but in the others, it's all just really quiet and non-involvement other than just peace. And then, you know, so that's a distorted view of the ways our city is divided up. I do believe, however, that we need to have the media involved. I think that we need to give the opportunity to the media. They can rotate their presence with the department. They can rotate their opportunities to be at the police department and follow whenever they leave. You know, follow them, videotape it, so that everything can be out in the open. They do not need to edit. They do not need to hide. They do not need to shadow any of the information, in my opinion. The only way we will know what is going on is by having the opportunity to view it. So I think that's one of the steps we need to get close to doing.
Thank you. That concludes the question portion. So we'll be moving into the closing statements. Again, each candidate will get a minute to close. According to the schedule, Mr. Horton would have been the first to give a closing statement. So just a final time. I know we're running behind, but I want to check in with Kathy. Do we know if
we have lost him entirely? It's regrettable. We'll see if there's some other way we might procure something from him to post later.
Just wanted to check in the interest of fairness, but yeah, thank you for that. That will mean, Mr. Phillips, you'll have the first minute to give your closing remarks at your convenience.
I'm running for Little Rock City Board Director, position number 9, and I'm asking for everyone's vote. I'm running because I believe in a better Little Rock. And believing in better is just not a campaign slogan, it's my life mantra. And it's a twofold approach to how I live life. When you believe in something, you will work and do whatever it takes to make sure that it happens. I believe that we can have a city with better neighborhoods that are rich with safe and affordable homes throughout our city. I believe in better economic opportunities where we can support our small businesses to help them grow. I believe in better recreational options so that our young people can have a city that recognizes the diversity in our city and get them things to do so they won't have the desire to commit crimes or leave our city altogether. When you believe in better, you work to make it happen. I believe in a better Little Rock, so I'm going to work to make it happen. And for that reason, I'm asking for your vote. You can learn more about our campaign at AntoinePhillips.com. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Bubbas, your closing remarks.
Thank you. I love Little Rock. I'm running for this position because I've lived here for a long time. I lived in Otter Creek for over 10 years and love that community. And I am excited about working in the community and working with our leaders to make Little Rock better. We've got to make Little Rock safer. We've got to make Little Rock safer. We've got to work with our police department to do better. But we don't need to divest from our police department. We need to invest in our police department. I'm afraid that a lot of people that are running in this race are going to take money from the police department's budget. So we don't need to do that. We need to make our city a safer city. We need to work within the Black community to get better training on how to deal with issues and deal with things. But we don't need to cut our police force. We don't need to limit what crimes that we're going to try to enforce. So we've got to work smart. We've got to work better. Another thing that we've got to do is we've got to raise revenue. We've got to raise more money to address the problems that we've spoken about, whether it be the parks or education system. And I'm the one that can help raise revenue by working with developers, working with homeowners associations, doing everything I can to create and grow jobs. Revenue for Little Rock. We need to increase our revenue in order to address these problems. Please vote for me and make Little Rock. We can do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Muse.
I believe the more that we learn about competing views, the more prepared we will become to better understanding each perspective. Simply opening our hearts and minds to respect views of others leads us toward sympathy with them, which I believe is key and necessary for progress. Mr. Bubbas, I am a believer in safety as well, but we have to be more prepared to listen to other individuals instead of spending more time wondering what we're going to say given the opportunity. We need to measure what our focus is based on what we glean from others from all over the city, not just one aspect, but all aspects of the community. As a social scientist, I don't think it would be a bad idea to have someone like me on the board. I think it would be a great idea, but I'm also a very—
Wrap it up.
I'm also a very talented individual. I'm an artistic person as well. I have made my living by doing so, but I wear more than one hat, and that of the social scientist is probably more important in this position now than ever, for us to have someone like me to be able to glean information from others by being a very good listener. And documentation is key. We have to keep track of what people are saying, and we need to act on those things that would help improve life for all in the city of Little Rock. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schwartz, your closing remarks.
Well, we live in a brave new world since last year. There's not going to be any more. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Brave new world. There's not going to be any more concerts or Hollywood pool parties. You know, all of your motivation and joy in life and is going to come from within. I have been fighting for 30 years to legalize marijuana in this state. It was surprised it took me 30 years. It took it 30 years, but that's almost done. So I moved on to take on another problem. I'm going to, as the city director in Ward 9, Glenn Schwartz will decriminalize marijuana in Little Rock, try to keep any other person from being sent to jail for that crime. We need to fight global warming by building, by asking to working with the power companies to do a thorium nuclear reactor, give that a second chance. Hemp fire.
Wrap it up, Glenn.
And the last thing is prepare Little Rock for the future, a city-state that will last 1,000 years or even 1,000,000 years. Thorium Glenn Schwartz at your service for position 9.
Thank you. Next, Mr. McAdoo, your closing comments.
Thank you for this opportunity. LittleRockLove.com. Why Little Rock Love? Because I know Little Rock is great. I just know it can be greater, and that means change. And I'm running for an at-large position, which is citywide, so anybody in the city can vote for me. I have been there. I'm a community insider, political outsider. If you've seen me and you know that I'm about change, and if you're about change and you have Little Rock love, I'm just going to say this. It's past time for change. Past time for change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Woo! I like it.
And finally, we'll have Mr. Pekar with your closing remarks.
Well, you know, it's for me, it's just kind of disgusting to see how the board of directors has been working. We've had a 911 call center, 15% abandoned calls. We spend over $4 million on that communication center every year, and we decided to give them extra work. Only pick up $13,000, give them extra work for services that are easily worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Likewise, we invested over $9 million in a radio system that covers virtually entire Pulaski County, and yet we let Maumelle tag on to those services for less than $4,000 a year. And effectively, we're giving free fire department services to Kamek Village. so many people talking about, how we can spend money better. But I think we have to start charging people fair and reasonable prices for the services Little Rock is providing. So, I'm the person who looks at the money. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. So I think that concludes this portion of the forum. I wanted to thank Kathy again, the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods, for allowing me to be the questioner. I think I'm going to come back in a few minutes for some of the other races. So I'll turn it back over to our moderator, Sheila Miles, for any closing remarks from her. You're on mute.
Mr. Horton tells me that he is back on functioning. Mary, can you bring up Mr. Horton for a final statement? We're working on it.
Okay, I'm sure you can hear me now. I borrowed my cousin's laptop, so you can hear me now, right?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly.
Well, I feel extremely relieved that I finally got through to all of you after some unexpected difficulties technically. Let me just say that I'm Tom Horton. I'm the last one on the ballot for position 9. I'm glad my 2 cousins were here visiting me this weekend, which really helped out because, as you can see, I overcame my technical difficulties. My platform is this, that I want people in their neighborhoods to be safe, and in order to do that, we need to support our police department with law and order. And also, I think my second part of my platform should be our economy and overcoming the coronavirus and opening up our city, as well as our schools, which we are in process of doing. It's a 3-way thing. But anyway, I'm just glad to say that I finally made the meeting, and wanted to say hello to everyone. My fellow candidates, all other 6 of you, the moderators, and everyone that had taken part in this forum. And I'm glad, very much glad to be here and say thank you for letting me give a final statement.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Horton. And I want to thank the other candidates of position 9 for your participation in the forum, and thank you for your willingness to serve the city of Little Rock. This event can be found on Facebook at clrn.ar. This event can also be found on YouTube at Little Rock Neighborhoods. Thank you and have a wonderful rest of the day.
And this concludes the position 9 forum for the Coalition of Neighborhoods, Saturday, October 3rd, 2020. We will now have a transition to our judicial candidates. And thanks again to all our participants.
Thank you to you, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to double check that all of our judicial candidates are here. Please respond when I call your name. Shanice Johnson.
Present.
Rolf. Did you get in? Are you joining us?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Mr. Andrew Ballard, are you here?
Yes, ma'am, sure am.
Sean Johnson, are you here?
I'm here.
Gary Rogers, are you here?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Amy Johnson will be participating by remote video. She could not attend in person. So I believe Mary is ready to proceed with the Division 10 race.
Kathy?
Yes.
Hate to bother you. You didn't go over Division 2. And Amy is here.
Yeah, I am.
I beg your pardon. Stein and Casey Tucker, thank you. So you're here, is Casey Tucker here? Is Casey Tucker here? Oh dear.
I have a video for Casey Tucker.
Sorry, she's the video. So then is Amy Johnson present in person? And I mixed up my people. I beg your pardon.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Well, it is grassroots government at its finest advocacy. Okay. So Division 2 of the circuit judges in Pulaski County is first up. Let me start this segment by saying welcome to the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods Candidate Forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2020. The recording will be posted both on YouTube at LR Neighborhoods and on Facebook at clrn.ar. I will now turn this over to moderator John Hedrick. Are you there, John?
Yes, thank you, Kathy. Welcome to the Candidate Forum sponsored by the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods. I'm John Hedrick, Vice President of the Downtown Neighborhood Association and moderator for the Circuit Judge Division 2, District 6.2 race. Event will be recorded and posted online. Details are on slides shown periodically throughout the forum. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for their statement, and we'll lead off with the statement from Hugh Finkelstein. And I guess first the decision, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Actually, you did get it right, so congratulations.
Thank you.
My name's Hugh Finkelstein, and I'm running for 2nd Division Circuit Court, and that's Judge Piazza's seat. He's retiring at the end of the year. What you need to know about me is simple. I'm a husband. My wife Ginger is a lawyer in Lone Oak. I'm a father. I've got 2 grown children, 26 and 27. I'm a grandfather. My grandson Elias is going to be 11 months in next week. And I'm a brother, I'm a friend, and I'm a teacher. I'm running for this position because I've dedicated my life to public service. I was in private practice for 4 years. I was a prosecutor in Little Rock. I was a prosecutor in Conway. And for 2 years, I was Little Rock District Judge. During that time, I handled criminal cases in district court. I also handled civil cases as a special judge in district court. But one of the things that's important is that as a district judge, we also handled a circuit court docket. And the cases that I handled in circuit court are the same kind of cases that this court will handle in 2021. I did child support hearings, domestic orders of protection, other civil actions. And while lawyers are good at their job at being lawyers, it's a lot more difficult to actually be a judge and make those decisions. I have the firsthand knowledge of making arguments on both sides and sitting and making decisions on cases. And I can tell you that making a decision as a judge is way harder than just arguing for a position as a lawyer. But I have that experience. I'm doing this because I know I can serve more people as a judge than as an attorney. And that's what my life has been about. I've represented people through all kinds of cases. I've prosecuted criminal cases and been a voice for victims for many, many years. I've been doing this a long time, and I can tell you that, you know, I've talked to 6-year-old girls and boys about the worst day of their lives, and I know the effect that these kinds of things have on families, and that's why I'm wanting this position and wanting to help serve Pulaski and Perry County. I have a lot of personal experience in the courts, both on every side of the issue, and that experience gives me the understanding and the empathy to be able to handle all these cases. With coronavirus, everything's up in the air and shut down. Experience matters more now than ever. And you want someone who's actually been there and done that. That's why I'm asking for your vote. Thank you. I think I'm within 3 minutes, right?
Exactly right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have Casey Tucker?
I'll bring it up in just a second.
Good morning. My name is Casey Tucker, and I'm ready to be your next family court judge. I have a reputation for working hard and for being passionate about what I do. And I promise to bring that same
Volume's low on mine.
where I will put your children first every single day. I've been a hard worker my entire life, and I'm not about to change now. I was the first person in my family to graduate college and the only one to earn her law license. I did that more than 2 decades ago. My husband Mike and I have been married 26 years. We have 2 children, a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old. They are both very busy with virtual school and work, as many of you are. We've tried to instill in our children the importance of working hard, as we have done, and also giving back to the community. Pulaski County is our home, and it's where we intend to stay.
Volume is unsatisfactory.
Many of you know that there are very few women on the bench in Pulaski County. In fact, there's only about 29% of the judges are female. Potentially, with 2 of those retiring, if all men are elected this cycle, then that would be around 20%. Do we want that? Do we not deserve an equal balance between men and women on the bench? I'm not asking for your vote just because I'm a female, but I'm also asking because I'm the most qualified. I've been in private practice 23 years, and in that 23 years, I've represented clients from every race and every background, and I'm very proud of who I've represented and what I've done for my clients. My opponent, on the other hand, has been a career prosecutor and has no domestic relations experience. So who do you want to be your next family court judge? Someone who is completely entrenched in the criminal law system, or someone who has fought hard for parents, grandparents, children, those who need someone to fight for them, to give a voice to the voiceless? I know I'm up to the task, and I promise my experience makes me well suited for this position. For your vote, I promise to work hard, to listen, and do what is right always. Thank you for your vote.
All right, the volume was very poor on that recording. Let's see if we can get that cleared up if we're going to post it. But thank you for your participation.
Mary, is there a chance of getting that volume up?
Well, actually, it's more than volume. The actual clarity of the sound is awful.
Yeah, very echoey.
What does our technical director have to tell us?
I'll see what I can do.
Okay. We'll see by the end of our rotation if it's possible to bring it back in clarity.
Short-term wise, I can't think of anything I can do because it was perfectly clear on my computer.
Oh dear. All right. We will hope that we'll fix it by the time we get this posted tomorrow then, is what we should promise our attempts to be.
I can post it separately.
Yes. So that concludes the Division II Circuit Judge runoff race statements for the forum of the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods on Saturday, October 3rd, 2020. Thank you for your participation. It will be posted on both Facebook and YouTube tomorrow. And we will have a brief transition to the next race in our roster on the forum calendar. Pause for a moment. Thank you so much. Next, we will have the Shanice Johnson Lot Rolfe race. I call on the moderator, Hunter Wendell.
Thank you, Kathy. For those of y'all just tuning in, again, my name is Hunter Wendell. I am the current president of the Capitol View Stiff Station Neighborhood Association, and I will be moderating this Division 10 race. Want to thank the candidates for tuning in and giving their time and giving their time to run for office. Obviously, this is an important position and can have a big impact on the community. As with the prior race, the format's just going to be 3 minutes for each candidate to speak, and we'll kick that off now, starting with Miss Shanice Johnson. You have 3 minutes when you're ready.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shanice Johnson, and I'm going to run off to be your next 10th Division Circuit Judge here in Pulaski and Perry County. It is currently, a seat has currently held by Judge Joyce Williams Warren. I come from a large extended family. I'm the oldest of two, a first-generation college student and a graduate of the William H. Bowen School of Law. I'm a dedicated public servant and have focused my legal career in serving underserved communities. Some of my experiences includes working at Arkansas Fair Housing Commission, Social Security Administration, and the Center for Arkansas Legal Services and the Arkansas Department of Human Services. In my current role as an attorney at DHS, my focus areas are employment law, Medicaid, and juvenile law. Based on a recent study concerning adverse childhood experiences, nationally, Arkansas youth rank #1 for trauma. 60% of Arkansas youth have experienced at least one adverse childhood experience, whereas the national average is 45%. Examples of ACEs are things like domestic violence in the home, substance abuse issue, having an incarcerated parent, physical abuse, and mental health issues. This is significant because the more ACEs that a child experiences, the more likely they are to have a lower life expectancy, chronic health conditions, and engage in risky behaviors. I made the decision to run after many hours of prayer, discernment, and conversations with family, friends, and neighbors. What was clear throughout all of those conversations was that our youth deserve a judicial system that is not only focused on punishing them or figuring out what is wrong with them, but asks what happened to you. It is through this lens we can better serve our youth and our community as a whole. I have a platform to get the 10th Division Court to be a national leader in how we habilitate and rehabilitate our youth. It includes utilizing technology to make the courtroom more efficient and more accessible. It also includes, involving more community partners in court proceedings in a manner that helps us come up with alternatives for our youth. These ideas and others like them are how we restore the faith and trust in the system. While I'm an attorney that meets all the qualifications set out by Arkansas for this seat, I have not been practicing this system long enough for it to taint my view of the changes that need to be made to better serve our youth and our community. As an attorney at DHS for several years, I practiced exclusively in juvenile court. I know firsthand the challenges families face in juvenile court, and I'm the only candidate with firsthand experience collaborating with both government and the community to provide trauma-informed services to help the children and families directly impacted by this court to transcend from the circumstances that brought them there. My juvenile court experience has equipped me with the knowledge of both the strengths and opportunities for growth within the system. We are in unprecedented times, and I'm the only candidate in my race who has been advocating to use technology to make the courtroom more efficient and more accessible before the pandemic started. Again, my name is Shanice Johnson, and the time is now to bring the court system into the 21st century The time is now to stop the wholesale warehousing of our youth without addressing mitigating factors. The time is now for more innovation, collaboration, and change. The time is now to get ahead of the curve. Again, my name is Shanice Johnson. My website is shanicejohnsonforarkansas.com, where you can read more about me and my vision for the court. I ask for your vote on November 3rd and during early voting, which starts on October 19th. Vote Shanice Johnson for 10th Division Court.
Thank you. Next, we'll turn it to Mr. Lot Roth for his comments.
And hello, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I'm out in the community right now working, but I'm glad to definitely be a part of the forum today. Again, my name is Lot Roth. I am currently in the runoff also for the 10th Division Juvenile Court seat that is currently held by Judge Warren, who is retiring at the end of this term. Just a little bit of information about me. I'm a son of this state, lifelong resident of this state, and grew up in the Central Arkansas area. I'm a proud product of the Little Rock School District. I attended the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville, where I obtained my undergraduate degree in secondary education in 1994, and then moved down back to Little Rock and attended the Bowen School of Law, where I finished with my law degree in 1997. I'm currently in private practice. I've been practicing law now here in Arkansas for 23 years. I've had an opportunity to work at various administrations, working with the Arkansas Public Defender Commission, Little Rock City Attorney's Office, and then finally in private practice now. The reason why I'm running for this juvenile court seat is because, just like many of you, I am very concerned about our young people and their future and what lies ahead of them. I'm sure many of you go look at the media, turn on the news. There's always something going on with our young people and their families. Many of our young people are dealing with some very serious issues, and many of the issues that they're dealing with, they end up matriculating into the adult criminal system. And I represent a number of individuals, young people charged as adults in serious criminal cases, and many of the young people who I represent start out in the juvenile court system. And so I started to think that if we could turn some things around in our juvenile court system, maybe we can keep many of those young individuals out of the adult system altogether. So that's been my primary motivation for running, is to do everything we can to keep our young people out of the adult system so they can find their purpose in life and be more productive. My platform is very simple. First, I want to work on dismantling the school to prison pipeline that's been affecting so many of our young people. We need to address educational opportunities. We need to address poverty. We need to address mental health issues that are going on with our young people that cause our young people to, for whatever reason, drop out of school and then find their way into the prison system. We need to work on reforming our juvenile justice system. We need to make sure that our courts are trauma informed, and make sure that the staff are trauma informed, so that we can make sure that we reach the individual needs of each child. We cannot use a cookie cutter approach as it relates to rehabilitating our young people. And then, of course, my last point is we need to work on reforming, reestablishing the trust back into our juvenile justice system. I believe that the juvenile justice system in Pulaski County has the opportunity to be the measuring stick for juvenile justice reform in the entire state, but we all need to get on board to do this. What I believe sets me apart from my opponent in the race is, first, my 23 years of experience. My opponent has 6 years of experience.
Please wrap it up.
My opponent has 6 years of experience as a licensed attorney versus my 23 years. My background is secondary education with training with children. And then, of course, I'm a parent. I have a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old. So I know what it's like to raise children. My children are grown and out of the house. I now want to focus on raising the children, helping to raise the children of Pulaski and Perry County. Lot Raw for Juvenile Court Division 10. Thank you.
Thank you. As previous moderators have noted, these videos are going to be posted later on Facebook, YouTube, etc., and the information for that will come up periodically throughout this video. I think that's all I have to say, so I'll turn it back to Kathy Wells for the next races.
Thank you. This concludes the Division 10 race for Pulaski County Circuit Judge. It will be posted online tomorrow. Thank you all for participating. We're now in transition to the next Division 14 race. Pause for a moment. Thank you. Good morning. I welcome candidates for Division 14 race and moderator John Hedrick to the candidate forum of the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods, Saturday, October 3rd, 2020. We are welcoming candidates today live, and we will post the video on both Facebook and YouTube tomorrow. John Hedrick, please proceed with the Andrew Ballard, Sean Johnson candidates.
Thank you, Kathy. Welcome to the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods Candidate Forum. I'm John Hedrick, Vice President, Downtown Neighborhood Association and moderator for the Division 14 race. The event will be recorded and posted online. Details are on slides shown periodically throughout the forum. Our timekeeper is Kathy Wells. There will be a statement, each candidate give a 3-minute statement, and we will begin with the statement from candidate Andrew Ballard.
Good morning, and I appreciate Kathy and all those involved with the Little Rock Coalition of Neighborhoods and for inviting us, especially during this trying time. I hope everyone out there is well. Due to COVID-19 and the pandemic, we've seen a lot of changes in the court, and I believe it's imperative that moving forward with the continued cases and buildup of cases in the courts, that we have experience in somebody who's ready on day one to move forward. 14th Division is a family law seat. And family law seat is divorce, child custody, visitation, child support, adoption, other probate matters, guardianship, orders of protection. I'll tell you, Denver University has the Institute for Advancement of the American Legal System. And as quoted in an article about the improvement of family law courts, as a minimum qualification, a family law judge should be well versed in the subject matter and the types of cases that come into their courtroom. And so a family law court is also a trial court. And I am both a family law attorney and as such, I'm a trial attorney. I'm the only family law attorney in my race. I'm an attorney ad litem that represents children. I actually, and you have to be certified in this state, I actually help with the certification training for people who are ad litems. I think I'm the only ad litem in any of the races, but I may be mistaken in that. There are clear distinctions in this race. I'm married. My wife is my law partner. I have 3 wonderful, intelligent, strong-willed, and independent daughters, who one of them is pregnant, and we just found out that we're going to have a grandson, our first, so we're excited about that. I'm a farm owner. Little fun facts, have 2 dogs and a cat. I'll tell you, the most important thing and relevant, though, is my legal experience when it comes to being a judge. I'm the author of the Family Law Practice Series book that is updated every year. I keep current on the law for that, and it helps lawyers navigate through the courtroom. And in our distinctions, I want to point out, you can go to PulaskiClerk.com and type in the candidates' names and see what types of cases they've been involved in. My opponent's not had a single family law case, and when you type in our names, you'll find that DR and PR are domestic relations and probate. Those are the types of cases
Do wrap it up, please, sir.
That you're going to find. And you're going to find that as important as this is, one thing I've always heard from my children clients, and the most important thing to my clients when going through these serious issues is, does the judge know what they're doing? And are they going to make the right decision? And I bring that experience, and I hope you look for Ballard on the ballot and vote for me, Andrew Ballard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ballard. And next up be Sean Johnson, candidate for Division 14.
Thank you, Mr. Hedrick and Kathy and members of the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods and everyone who's gathered here today for this opportunity to speak with you. I'm Sean Johnson, a candidate for circuit judge in the 14th Division, and I'm running for judge because a judge is first and foremost a public servant, and that's something that I've done for approximately 17 years in various respects, whether it was working in Washington, D.C. for a senator, working at the White House for President Clinton, for coming back to Arkansas and clerking for a federal judge, and now working for the Attorney General's office for nearly 13 years for two different attorneys general of two different political parties. It's the essence of nonpartisanship, which is what I'm trying to generally show to everyone here. I believe that public service is really important, and I learned it from a young age. I learned it from when I was in Boy Scouting, and it really was something that set me on a path toward leadership and focusing on helping others as much as I could. And in the midst of that, I was studying the law merit badge and all those things, and I knew that I was interested in becoming a lawyer. And then my parents divorced when I was 13. That was something that showed me somewhat up close and personal in a way, although I wasn't in the courtroom. I was around it in the sense that I saw the communications that my mother was getting. I saw what was happening between my parents, and it was very life-shaping, very, very formative. And it showed me that we needed good and fair and judges who were really listening to people at the end of that process in order to help them through it. And that's what I choose and want to do as a judge, to first and foremost be a listener, to help everyone through that process, and to be kind and empathetic and very deliberate and careful about those situations. I think that that's very, very important. You know, I'm a lawyer who has, as I mentioned, been at the Attorney General's office for nearly 13 years. I have fought the robocalls and have continued to. It's a very difficult issue to resolve. I have fought the opioid crisis in the courts, and I have a case that has been chosen to go to the U.S. Supreme Court on the issue of reining in pharmacy benefit managers. It deals with ERISA. You know, ERISA is one of those statutes that none of us know a lot about, and I've never litigated an ERISA case, but I've taken it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Because as a lawyer, we have to learn the issues, and we learn the various issues that we study, and we practice and do them well and make perfect on each one as best we can. So as a public servant, I will continue to serve as a public servant judge, someone who holds the public trust and cares deeply about everything that our community is facing. I'm asking for vote for me on November 3rd, and I appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, candidates, for your participation, and the forum will be posted online tomorrow. Kathy?
Thank you. This concludes the Division 14 Candidate Forum hosted by the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods on Saturday, October 3rd, 2020. It will be available tomorrow on Facebook and YouTube. We will now transition to the Division 15 race. Thank you. I will call on Hunter Wendell to be moderator for the Division 15 Circuit Judge race between Gary Rogers and Amy Johnson. This is Kathy Wells' Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods. We are sponsoring a candidate forum on Saturday, October 3rd, 2020. Welcome all.
All right, thank you, Kathy. My name is Hunter Wendell. Again, I'm the president of the Capitol View Stiff Station Neighborhood Association. I'm glad to be participating in this forum. The final race we have here today is the Division 15 judge race. and our two candidates are Gary Rogers and Amy Johnson. Pretty simple ground rules as with the other candidates, just 3 minutes to speak and tell everyone why you think you're the best for the job. We'll start with Mr. Gary Rogers. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Hunter, and thank you, Kathy, and thank the coalition for allowing us to have this forum to help educate the electorate on these particular races. These races are very important. This is a family law court. 15th Division is currently being adjudicated by Judge Dick Moore, who's retiring, and he's served this community well, Pulaski and Perry County. 15th Division, as we've said, is a family law court. What does that mean? Family law is exactly that. We will deal with issues involving families, child support, custody, all the things that will affect the family. I have spent my entire career, over 35 years, as a family law attorney. I've been a district judge for 21 years. I have served on the Arkansas Supreme Court as a special justice. Those are the things that I believe will make for a good judge, but there's more than just that. What does family law really mean? Well, it means that we protect children. The biggest thing and the most important thing a family law court will do will be protect children from the abuses of being used as pawns in high conflict divorce cases. If you look at the family law situation, it creates all kinds of problems. It disrupts families. I've been doing this for over 35 years, and my experience tells me that if you have someone who's been there and seen it, sat at the table with these people as they go through these struggles, they'll be in a better position to make those decisions. I'll tell you one quick war story about families and how family law affects families. A lady, we'll call her Sarah, has 2 children. Sarah has a job, and Sarah was in the court system. She trusted the court system, but Sarah had a problem. Her husband left her for someone else. She's got 2 children. She was awarded child support of roughly $350 a month. And guess what? He hasn't paid his child support in over 5 years. Her ex-husband doesn't see the children. And Sarah's put in a situation where she has to burn her candle at both ends, has to take a second job to make ends meet. I believe a good judge will help Sarah and others like Sarah who are put in that situation to collect that back child support, to make sure that her children are taken care of, and to see that she's treated fairly. A good judge will listen carefully to both sides. They will make sure that both sides are heard, and I believe that a good judge will make the right decision. Decisions are made almost instantaneously in some cases. That's why experience matters. If elected 15th Division Circuit Judge, I will assure you that I will do everything in my power to be sure that both sides are heard, that both sides are treated fairly and with respect. It would be an honor for me to serve as your 15th Division Circuit Court, and I would appreciate your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Next, we have Miss Amy Johnson. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you to the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods. Thank you to Hunter Wendell for moderating. Thank you to Kathy Wells for organizing all of this. I'm Amy Dunn Johnson, and I'm also running for 15th Division Circuit Court. I'm a single mom of 3 girls, and I'm the guardian of a developmentally disabled adult. And so I understand how, from a firsthand perspective, how important family courts are and how they impact the lives of so many people. I've spent the last 11 of my 18-year legal career working as the director of the Arkansas Access to Justice Commission. And in that role, I've worked to make our court system more accessible to all Arkansans, not just those who can afford to have an attorney. And many of the initiatives that I've pushed for in that role have dealt with improving technology and improving access long before the COVID pandemic hit. And we've certainly see sort of the opportunities and barriers that has brought about. The bottom line is that we have to change the way that we do business. Our courts have to change the way that they do business to accommodate the way that most people do business in courts these days, because technology is a big part of how folks expect to be able to do that. I will say too that in my role as a director of the Access to Justice Commission, I get phone calls almost every day from people who are absolutely desperate because they can't afford a lawyer. They cannot qualify for legal aid. They've tried to navigate our court system and they can't figure out the rules and can't get relief. And so I know firsthand that this is happening to people. And actually, you could fill Simmons Arena with low-income Arkansans who cannot afford attorneys and put one lawyer in there. And that's the scale of what we're dealing with. And it is the exception rather than the rule that people who go to family court are going to have an attorney representing everyone who's involved. So I think it's very important that for family court that we have to be aware of that and adapt so that everyone who has a family law issue is able to access our court system. I'm running because I feel like I can do more to do that in a role as a judge, and it would be my immense honor to have your vote for your next 15th Division Circuit Judge. Again, my name is Amy Dunn Johnson, and I'd be grateful for your vote.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. And thank you to both the candidates for the 15th Division race for taking their time out of their day to speak with us here today. And thank you to Kathy for allowing me to moderate several of these races. We've covered a lot today, so I think I'll just kick it back to Kathy to close out and remind everybody how to access this video later and for any other comments. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Hunter. This does conclude the Division 15 race forum for Circuit Judge by the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods, posted online tomorrow on both Facebook and YouTube. And finally, this does conclude the entire Saturday, October 3rd, 2020 candidate forum hosted by the Coalition of Little Rock Neighborhoods online, and it will be posted tomorrow on YouTube at LR Neighborhoods and on the Coalition Facebook page, which is clrn.ar. We hope to overcome some of the technical problems we encountered today, so do check it out. And let me finally conclude by saying how much I appreciate everyone's participation and hard work here today. I appreciate and thank the candidates who've offered themselves for office on our ballot. I thank the citizen advocates who took part in this forum, asking questions, moderating, listening, and I hope everyone spreads far and wide in your network the outcomes of what we've done here today. This is important work, and we do good work. Thank you all again. This concludes the Coalition Forum.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good Saturday.
Thank you.
Mary, do you need anything from anyone else, or are you closing it down?
I'm closing it down. Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate y'all.
I'm just letting people log off, and then I'll end it and start processing the recording.
So we can all just leave the meeting and
Yes.
get on with it. Okay. Thank you again for everybody. I'm leaving the meeting now.
Kathy, good job. Same to Mary.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay. Okay. Thanks so. Like a rumba.
Okay, you can leave the meeting by hitting the red button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Or in about 30 seconds, I will just close out the meeting and that will close your session too. Thank you for joining us today.